Good morning, students. I am recording this about 7:30 in the morning on July 29th. Just to let you know, we have a few things that are posted on the week 5 channel, and just keep in mind there's 2 sets of videos, one for literacy and then also one for the technology and education, and that's what I'm really wanting to talk to you about this morning, just briefly. I'm not going to take a lot of your time, but I do need to get to my beautiful AI. And let's just see, there we are. Okay, I want to introduce you to a concept, and I've actually already done this, but you may not have realized it. This is a presentation I did several months ago prior to the shutdown. I was asked to do a presentation on EMRs and EHRs originally, and then it turned into a presentation on actually charting. And for good reason. At the board, we deal with a lot of charting issues. Now, this is not about the charting issues. What I really want to show you is how I constructed the slides. If you get this out of my way here, why can't I get it out of my way? Let's see if I can. All right, so this is just my disclosure. Let me go on to the presentation so you can actually see it. Present slide. And I want to just drop this out of my screen right now. All right, so getting past my disclosures here, I want to show you what I'm talking about. First of all, we made a point last night to discuss the issue of objectives, and for whatever reason, this will not get out of my way. There we go. There we go. All right, so we talked about objectives last night, just real quick. I reworded these objectives for my case, which was, and this is something we're doing right now, participants will evaluate simulated cases of charting errors. Participants will use state rules to determine if any statutory violation occurred in each simulated case. Participants will understand the issues with charting. So what I did here was I was much more direct. I didn't put participants will be able to, because this was a participatory presentation. So they had to participate, and therefore by their participation, we successfully achieved the objectives. All right, so first things first, remember you have to have your objectives for your slides, so make sure that's your second slide generally. I had to put my disclosures at the beginning because of the type of presentation. Now this is the presentation that I want to show you. Now usually when we do what we call this is called an assertion style PowerPoint or assertion style slide. When we're using assertion style slides, this is something that you state something that is factual. We know to err is human. Did you know that it's the third leading cause of death in the United States if you combine all the errors in the medical arena? And most people don't realize that. So error is something that we have to be concerned about, and it's also linked to charting. So charting is subject to technical issues. Here's an assertion style slide that I want to make the point. The point is I am looking at a safety and analysis study. I'm giving very brief information here. I'm citing the source at the bottom, and then I'm giving statistical data for the individual sections here. So ulnar radial x-rays, error rate 16.7 to 35.7%, lab testing, error rate of up to 14%, Tylenol administration, error rate up to 30%, and then prednisone administration up to 50% error rate as it's relating to the use of EMRs or EHRs. And that's because of the number of clicks it takes to get to the right value. And then, of course, the click is not correct, and that leads to just technical errors. So these are technical errors that are attributed to the number of clicks related to these particular procedures. And this is just a small number of things that they looked at in this small study. We could look at this very broadly and we could find error rates probably in some cases higher because people aren't paying attention, or they're worse, they're using information that is already in the system and they're not really looking at it. And I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But you can see this is just stating the facts. It's the evidence. So it's also called an evidence-based slide. 70% of the physicians polled in this, or surveyed in this particular study, stress was a big factor in in leading to burnout, and it's related to all the charting and really just paperwork that they have to do probably online. But the reality is that EMRs are a known source of frustration for you. It's a known source of frustration and stress for everybody who works with them. 27% of the ophthalmologists in this survey said they spent 4 hours a day just documenting in the EHRs. Amazing. So why are EMRs so terrible? Well, because they actually make things more prone to clinical error. So in other words, clinicians who multitask between the EMR entries and conversations with patients were more susceptible to clinical errors. Think of it, you're driven to distraction and you're making errors. Again, I want to point out, this is an assertion made by this study, or at least in this case it wasn't a study. I'll have to recognize the fact that this was an online article, but it was based on a study. So this was an article about the study by Kuntzman in 2018. Another one. Mortality and readmission rates for surgical patients treated at hospitals with full EMR were even higher than those treated at hospitals with only partial EMRs. So, in other words, there was limited difference in treatment outcomes. If anything, if they had a full EMR system, probably had worse outcomes. All right, so then we got into, and the rest of the slide is really not insertion style necessarily, except for one part. I want to bring that up. Okay, so this was the one I used as to what were the issues that led to the cases that I presented. And I'm not going to go through the cases, but this is a study that shows that 46% of the people literally copied the material from the previous person, 36% imported data, 18% had an original input. If that doesn't make you a little bit nervous, it should, because we see a lot of issues with improper charting at the board. So just be aware that those things are really serious, and the board, at least our licensing board, takes these things very seriously. But the point is this is an assertion. This is an evidence-based slide. Hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas as to how to approach developing your own slides. I really enjoy this type of slide making. It's challenging because it requires you to really know your material, but it also doesn't give you the boring sentence structure that you see in a lot of slides, and where people just simply read. And that's, when I say I don't like lecturing, that's what I mean. I don't like to simply read a slide, because that is not really truly lecturing at all. What that is doing is reading. And we shouldn't be reading our slides. We should be developing our slides so we naturally can speak from them. So that's it for the insertion point slides. I do want to show you this one thing. I had a question last night about what would I recommend other than, not PowerPoint and certainly not beautiful AI. What would I recommend? Well, I tend to get, just like anybody, I get stuck on something I really like. There was one that I wasn't real fond of, and I just remember the name of it. It's called Prezi. I think it's a waste of time in my opinion, but it's up to you. If you like it, you can use it. Prezi seems like a cool idea when you look at it at first, but then it becomes somewhat problematic when you're actually delivering the presentation. According to the most recent, there's a couple of ones in here. Visme is one. Some of these are free, some of them are not. This is Prezi I was talking about. You can experiment with it, but honestly, I don't like it at all. It's ranked number 2. Then there's Keynote. Again, it's kind of like, it's a very, I think, kind of similar to beautiful AI, honestly, when you look at it. Real sharp pictures. You can do a lot of fun things with it, and Let's see what the cost of that is. I think that's really what will determine what you'll use. So this one is, okay, that's the same one. All right, so this is kind of what it looks, very similar to what I have on Beautiful AI. Then there's slides, which again, it's very similar to Beautiful AI. There are, let's see, and there's Slide Bean. Most of these that I've looked at, and the reason I chose Beautiful AI is because it was probably one of the first, was the sharpness that I liked in the presentation. Now this one is much more like PowerPoint. This is Google Slides, as you probably have already seen in your Google systems. I personally don't like it. Canva is another one. Again, Canva is similar, somewhat similar to Beautiful AI or even Slide AI. And you'll see a lot of them are starting to look a lot alike because, okay, here's the Beautiful AI, similar to the really, yep, there's my Beautiful AI right there. All right, so that's ranked number 9, but I really enjoy it. Then there's Microsoft Sway. What you're noticing beyond the traditional PowerPoint is you're seeing, and again, the one thing you might want to look at for that one is that it is free if you have a Microsoft account. That's Microsoft Sway. So they use sharp pictures. It's easy to navigate and it's easy to construct a slideshow. And just to give you an idea, I was just kind of playing around last night with it, and I'll show you real quick how easy it is to say drop some things in here. I couldn't do it as easily last night because here's a video drop in. If I wanted to drop a video in, I've got one up here that I'm going to share. It's my music that I'm listening to, and I'm just going to capture the URL and go back to my Beautiful AI. If I can find it in here, there we go. Import. Add. Okay, so, oops, that wasn't a video apparently. Or was it? Nope, that was something different. Let me grab the right one. Okay, there we go. All right, so you got to know what you're looking for, I guess. All right, so drop it in, add to video slide. Okay, so you see that the video just dropped right in. That's all you got to do. You don't have to embed. These are some pictures I was playing around with. This is me and my grandson. This is my daughter-in-law's family. But let me just pull one up. This is my family. And let's see, go to another one. Oh, I can't resist that. That's my little grandson. All right, so you can kind of see how quickly and easily you can just drop in pictures. You can also change the grid layout pretty easily by simply clicking how do you want it to look. It's pretty quick. I can also, if I wanted to, I could rearrange where I wanted things very quickly. If I wanted this here, I could put that here. If I want to delete that slide, I can do it. I can duplicate the slide. I can even export it to JPEG or even export it to PowerPoint. So it's very flexible, and many of the ones that I showed you online as alternatives to PowerPoint, those would have very similar features. Just a matter of what you choose, what you're willing to pay for, and what you get for it. All right, that's it. I just wanted to touch base with you real quick, and don't forget to watch the other videos. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.